Powered by Riverside.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Journey Like Mine, podcast with a purpose, episode 23. I hope you all are doing well and ready to ring in the new year. But before we get into the celebrations and New Year resolutions, I have to share with you why it's been a few months for me not being on my podcast, on social media, and it's for good reason. I think the last time I spoke to everyone was back in September. So, since October, my family and I went from being the road trippers. As you know, every summer we go to different parts of the United States, visiting national parks and some other educational but fun places. And so we went from road trippers to being world trippers for reasons that were very long overdue. Obviously, it started off with the family wedding in England, going home to South Africa after 12 years. We did 48 hours in Turkey, which was way too short. And finally, and most importantly, hearing my calling of going to where my heart belongs. So let's get started with me taking you on part one of our world tripping journey. So, our world trip stop number one starts off in England, where we attended a wedding and a walima, which is a traditional reception in England. Um, when I got married many, many years ago, my niece, who's the bride, Rihanna, was just 4 years old. Since then, our relationship as aunt and niece just blossomed into something more precious, so precious that her wedding is the first wedding that I attended since I got married. I personally am so proud of this amazing woman she has become and the path she has chosen in all aspects of her life. This precious occasion gave us the opportunity to spend such valuable time with our family in England, and have our girls experience what a wedding is for the first time. Um, as you know, we live in the US and it's only us as our immediate family. So there are no weddings that we attend or a lot of traditional ceremonies. So this was their first time actually getting to experience what it is to be at a family function, what it is to see the whole wedding traditional ways of life. And both of them really had an experience, and that's thanks to our amazing family in England. But that's not all that we did. We had a couple of surprises for our girls before we left the UK. So that brings me to World Trip stop number two, Saturday morning in London. As our week came to a close in the UK, we had a few surprises for the girls. The first surprise was to visit some famous sites in London. We traveled to London at the end of the week and stayed at this really nice small hotel that was really close to all these sites. And we woke up early in the morning and we got to get the girls to go on a stroll. We went to Buckingham Palace. We got to visit Big Ben, which I learned is actually called the Elizabethan Tower, and the London Eye. And the reason why these three sites were so special is because, first of all, it was the first time both the girls got to go there together. Ilya was really little when she visited, so she doesn't really remember it. But these sites are significant to my husband and I, as we actually spent our honeymoon in London. And for the first time, actually traveled and visited special places, and it was the same place we took the girls to, walking to Buckingham Palace, walking to Big Ben and across the bridge, the Westminster Bridge, and then going to the London Eye. And it was very special sharing it with the girls because to see from the point of where we got married to bringing our 15-year-old and our 7-year-old with us, yes, I am dating myself, um, was pretty amazing. Even though it was just a couple of hours, but it's something that we could share with them. Um, a little bit of saying, hey, this is where mom's and dad's story actually began, more or less. But this was not the only surprise. You see, Elia thought her birthday will be spent at her cousin's wedding reception and then on a flight to South Africa. Yes, that did happen, but before we got on a plane, she firstly had a surprise birthday dinner. For the first time, she celebrated actually with her family in England. And when she got off the plane in South Africa, my sisters had another little birthday surprise for her. And we truly appreciate all of our family members doing this for us because she actually got to spend this birthday with her family. But I know my daughter's dreams and what's her favorite things and her wishes. And so this year, with having the wedding in England, we actually had the opportunity to do that. So that brings me to world trip stop number 3. Elia's surprise birthday trip at the making of Harry Potter at the Warner Brothers Studios in England. This was an amazing experience for Elia, Amina, and surprisingly, even us, the parents, to actually see the real film sets and all the journeys of each of the actors and how they transformed from these little kids in book one to the last movie and how they grew up on set. And then actually walking through the sets was pretty amazing to see even the technology and the science part of it, of how they made something as playing Quidditch look real on green screens. And so the girls got the opportunity to actually see how movies are made, hear the stories, look at how they transform the characters. And, they even got to, in quotes, fly the broomstick, or what all the Potter fans would say, play Quidditch through green screen magic. All in all, we wanted her to know we listen and understand what her passions are. She's not the typical girl that is dress up, makeup, let me get all done up. She loves her books. She's a huge Harry Potter fan. And so this was one way for us to say, hey, you know what? This is something for you. And we as parents can bring just a little bit of fun into your life when we can. So that was a wonderful week in England that included working at night. It was a working trip for me. Um, the kids doing online school. Yes, my kids do online school. That actually gives us the ability to travel. And thanks to this freedom of mobility, I finally returned home to South Africa after 12 years. Yes, 12 years. So that brings me to world trip stop number 4. My family, my home, my South Africa. This is where you probably hear me get a little bit more emotional because this was a very tough trip for me returning home. I finally got to go home, but I avoided it, not because I did not want to go back, but I was avoiding facing reality. The last time I was in South Africa, my mom was alive. She passed away 7 years ago, just 2 weeks before Amina was born, and you probably have heard me talk about her previously. So I was literally making every excuse not to return home, where my mom would not be there with her open arms. But something pushed me into facing reality, and one of it being my niece's wedding, which was the catalyst. We only had a week, like how we had a week in England. And knowing my sisters, they took the opportunity to make the most of it. So we did a lot in that one week. So I'm going to share a bit of some of the very quick but very amazing things that we did as a family. First of all, I told my sisters that if I'm coming, we three sisters are going to be together all the time. And I'm so appreciative that they put everything on hold to make that happen for me. So, our first, world trip stop number 5, as I call it, is the Nelson Mandela capture site. For those that know me, know that I am one of those people growing up that always said that Nelson Mandela is, not even was, is my role model or one of my role models. So I had not gone home in 12 years. And since then, they had created a museum at his capture site in KwaZulu Natal. So, as you'll know, he is one of my role models. Besides the obvious reasons on why, there is one saying of his that I personally live by. I never lose, I either win or learn. This is the core of who I am. So when I got the opportunity to visit his capture site museum, I felt honored to visit it with my girls and share with them the part of history that not only changed South Africa, but it changed the world in some way. No matter where you go around the world, in some way, somehow, you will always see or hear a Nelson Mandela quote or hear his story. So he's had this everlasting, ever impactful, influence on us and on the world. And walking through the museum, I silently thanked my dad, who taught me so much about politics and always said he was waiting for America to have the first African American president. My dad passed away in 2002, but how surreal for me to be a child and witness Nelson Mandela become president. And then 14 years later, being a citizen of the US and witnessing Barack Obama become president. You know, you say you dream things into reality, and I think my dad dreamt that into reality for me. So, going on from the Nelson Mandela site, we actually went on a crazy game drive. And I say crazy because it was literally a 24-hour trip. So, we went up to the North Coast, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but we went to the Shlushlui game reserve. We did a game drive there. Um, in this week, my sisters wanted to make sure my girls had the best experience possible. So that is why they decided, hey, what better to do but a game drive in South Africa? It was such a wonderful experience, full of amazing views, animals, and a lot of laughter. And one of the things that I think we got out of it is just how peaceful nature can be, but at the same time, how, you know, the whole environment that is untouched from the busy, city life can bring so much of joy to you. I feel that when I go to national parks here in the United States, but to feel that and, actually experience that with other family members is also amazing. And just a side note, I do have a lot of these picture videos that I've created as well. So if you go to my blog, which is on www.journeylikemine.com, you will see blog number 22, which will have each of these videos that take you through each of the world trip stops that I am talking about today. And then finally, we went what I would call World Trip Stop 7, going down memory lane with some beach time and the Wild Coast. So, if you live in South Africa or you've had the chance to visit the eastern part of South Africa, you may have heard of the Wild Coast Sun. So, the Wild Coast Sun holds significant memories for my family, as we spent many holidays there. And when I say holidays, I don't mean like staying at hotels, I mean like day trips, um, because that was our parents' favorite place. This time, going with my sisters, we actually got to stay at a very lovely beach resort that we got to have the beach all to ourselves. And even though it was just 2 days, we all had an amazing time. Amina got to make herself into a mermaid. My older one, she is what I call a true fish. She can go into the coldest of waters, and she just loved playing in the waves. And then we got to go to the Wild Coast Sun. And for those that lived in the 80s and 90s and their parents took them to the Wild Coast Sun, they would remember this huge gaming area, which they've actually changed completely. But that's where most kids spent their time, either playing video games or catching teddy bears, um, or just playing some fun games, winning tickets, and getting prizes. And that was kind of like our sort of, holiday reward or, trip whenever we got off school. Um, but all in all, I have to thank my amazing sisters, Shanaz and Wahida, for making sure that we had such an amazing time. I know it was very short, and they both complained a lot that it was very short, but not for a second did we not feel like we were having an amazing time. So, to both our families in England and South Africa for making our 16 days so memorable, so amazing. And, we hope to spend more time in the future with both of our families in England and South Africa. We don't get to go often because of work and school and everything else. But, life is too short. And I've learned from not going back for 12 years that when my next opportunity comes to be with family, I am going to grab it and make the most of it. So that brings us kind of like to the end of part one. So the world trip was not over because we got home and had just 7 days before the second phase of part two. So, in a future episode, I am going to come back and share with you something that I honestly believe that I dreamt into reality. Visiting a place that, really connected me with my spiritual self more than ever. I know that this is quite a long part one, but it's New Year's Eve. So I will let you go, and I hope you all celebrate the end of 2024 with appreciation, love, laughter, joy, and good health. And I hope you welcome 2025 with an amazing start. I wish you and your families a blessed start to 2025, and may it be full of great health, happiness, and prosperity. So, thank you for listening today after a very long time. I'm hoping to get back into my normal cadence of doing my podcasts again. Um, and there's a lot more for me to share from, my travels that will come in future episodes. But I appreciate those that still listen when I share the link out for my podcast, and come back and tell me about it. I want to hear your feedback. So thank you for listening today. Have a blessed end of 2024 and a great start to 2025. And remember to live, love, learn for each blessed day on your journey in life. Till next time, I wish you the very best. Thank you.
Powered by Riverside.